Well, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the newest episode of the Speed Street Podcast. My name is Connor Daly, and I race in the NTT IndyCar Series, if you didn't know that. I drive the number 76, Juncos Hollinger Racing Chevrolet. No sponsors on the car last weekend or this weekend. So just, riding on hopes and dreams. But I am with my co-host, Chase Holden, who is in a new location now. Chase has moved. He's fully moved into a new land. Very, very happy for Chase. The Chase station has moved planets, essentially.
Correct.
We have a lot to talk about this week.
Yes.
I was on vacation last week, and I apologize for that. I apologize for leaving folks hanging before the Mid-Ohio race, but there wasn't really a ton to talk about. And honestly, I was in Hawaii, and I was very far away. I was enjoying a wonderful time with my girlfriend, and that was it. There was no way I could have done the show with the travels and all kinds of things. So, but that means we loaded the week with things to talk about this week.
Oh, yeah. And got even more now.
And we have even more. So, we raced over the weekend in Mid-Ohio. We have the winner, finally, another winner. Oh, feels good. Feels good, team. And we've interviewed Scott Dixon before. It's not like this is a new winner. I mean, the guy's won 59 times. So if we were doing Speed Street for the last 20 years, well, he'd be the most frequent guest. Scott Dixon is with us, and it is a tremendous conversation listening to Scott Dixon and him describing the differences in the, this year's car, this era of IndyCar compared to some of the eras of the past, and what he struggles with his driving style in this car, and what separates, him from Alex Palou, his teammate, who's dominating right now. So really, really good conversation, and some thoughts from him about Iowa coming up this weekend. I believe, Chase, that he said that we could both win the race. So
he wants to share. He's a big share
That would
guy.
be cool. I would happily split the weekend with Scott Dixon. That would be cool. One of my favorite races coming up this weekend. We hope it's a very good one. We have a test that we can talk about first, maybe before we get to Mid-Ohio, because obviously there's a lot of drama that went on at Mid-Ohio. I got fender blasted by Santino Ferrucci once again.
Yes, you
which
did.
I think... and the internet, boy, I've had some very interesting internet interactions. This world is just an ever surprising place, and the way people interact and think is fascinating. So I'm here to help. I'm here to explain everything that's going on, and here to share my thoughts. But before that, actually, no, let's just talk about Mid-Ohio. Let's
go.
You know what? Screw it. Let's just get right into it. That's what everyone wants to hear anyway. They'll probably not even listen to the rest of the episode. Who knows? Maybe they will. We hope so. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, we appreciate you. If you're watching on the YouTube, thank you so much. So let's go through quickly the Mid-Ohio results, just so everyone knows in case they did not get to see the race and are instead listening to the podcast, which that's cool. I mean, if that's how you want to do it, that's great.
I will say
we respect that.
We had the M. Night Shyamalan twist, and so that's what is exciting about. But yeah, results.
Absolutely. And Chase, I'm going to get your thoughts immediately right after we say the results here. Scott Dixon, obviously the winner. Alex Palou second. Christian Lundgaard another podium finish in third. Colton Herta fourth. Pato O'Ward fifth. A great rebound race for him. He started about mid-pack. Felix Rosenqvist sixth. Marcus Armstrong, his teammate, seventh. Good run from the Meyer-Shank boys. Kyle Kirkwood, Renus VK, driver of the day again from the back to the top 10. Really good. Kiffin Simpson 10th after starting very high up. Wild weekend for Kiffin Simpson. Crazy. Nolan Siegel 11th after a good qualifying effort. Marcus Ericsson 12th. Callum Eilot 13th. Good result, honestly, for the Prema car there. Callum Eilot 13th. That's solid. Louis Foster, again, went from the fast six to about mid-pack. Alex Rossi just had a very stagnant day. He started right in front of me in 11th and was really struggling on the first stint. And yeah, I'm sure he was not thrilled with how his day went. Santino Ferrucci, 16th. Really great, wonderful day. Strong effort all around. David Maluka, 17th. Stingray Rob, 18th. Myself, 19th. Devlin DeFrancesco, Robert Schwartzman, Jacob Abel, Scott McLaughlin, Graham Rahal, Christian Rasmussen, Will Power, and Joseph Newgarden, the final two finishers. Chase, when you look at that right out the gate, before I get into it, I mean, what did you think of this event?
The season of hell continues for Joseph Newgarden. That's the first thing I thought of because he was the last place finisher. This race, it started off wild, obviously, with the Joseph Newgarden crash. It's just like, at this point, it's like you never want to expect like bad things to happen, but it's hard not to when it comes to Penske now, because it's like every week we convince ourselves they're going to get back on track. They're going to figure it out because of just, it's Penske. It's not happening. And it really is at a point now to where it's like I'm making, picks every week or whatever, and they're not included, and it hurts. I mean, I love those guys, and
which is wild.
It really is. So, starting right out the gate, this race just had that happen, and we got that out. Alex Palou took the pole. He's in the OpenAI car. Such a sexy car, by the way. Looks so good. All black fighter pilot looking car. And the race gets going, and you think, okay, well, just another Alex Palou domination series. We have your event that I'm just not even going to get too deep into because I want to hear your thoughts with Santino and his and him failing the driving test. And then from there, it really just was kind of a, playing out strategy, watching it. A lot of great scenery at Mid-Ohio. It looked like there was a lot of people out there. It was just fun to have on, watch roll. But then you start noticing Alex Palou getting a little sketchy in these corners. And I'm like, oh my God. Like at first I'm like, is something wrong with the car? Is this, because you don't ever want to think Alex Palou could make a mistake in 2025. Like that's not real. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, he is human after all. He makes this mistake. Scott Dixon's on this great strategy. He overcuts him, just Aura Kings him out. I made a meme where he had the bling. He was blinged out. That was Aura King strategy right there. He just swerved on him, took the win, M. Night Shyamalan twist of a race. So you had to be watching that whole thing. And I know that they had the NASCAR street race in Chicago. So some people that I was talking to were flipping back and forth. And I'm like, don't think that it could just all be over. I'm telling you, you never know what can happen in an IndyCar race. And lo and behold, that's exactly why you stick to watching some of the fastest racing on earth, the best racing on earth, in my opinion. And getting to see Scott Dixon get that win with his family there and everything was so great. Like he's really become a good friend of mine. And it's crazy to say that because he is the GOAT. And it's like, it's fun to see him, and I know that that's going to be a big confidence boost for that team. And just a really great race that it seemed like the conditions were nuts out there for you guys, though. So I'm really interested to hear like kind of how your weekend went and what you guys figured out while you were there in Mid-Ohio. And happy 4th of July weekend late, by the way. Oh,
yeah, 4th of July weekend. First, shout out to all the fans there. That is truly just such a well-attended event, and seeing the crowd on the driver parade lap as we kind of all went around in vehicles before during driver intros. If you see that crowd, you're like, IndyCar is alive and well. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same at Road America. Most of our crowds, if not all of our crowds this year, have just been outstanding, and we appreciate the fans. We appreciate the folks that are showing up. A lot of folks, I feel like every weekend there's a different group that say, hey, this is our first race this weekend. I'm like, oh, heck yeah.
Love that.
Fantastic. That's what we want to hear. I believe we're putting on a great product, 9 times out of 10, let's say that. But I thought Mid-Ohio was a good step forward for us. We obviously qualified well. But again, one of the tightest fields I think I've ever seen in my history of this sport. When we got done with free practice 2, I believe there were cars from about P6 to P22 that were within like 0.3 of a second.
Crazy.
I mean, if I was on the right side of 1/10, I would have moved up like 6 spots. And it was the exact same thing in qualifying. We didn't make the fast 12 by 400ths, but if I was like 600ths faster, we would have been like third, or 1/10 faster, we were third. So it's hard to not be upset about the progress that we made at the tire, the track. I like Mid-Ohio, but I didn't get to run there last year. And then the year before I did just the race. So
right.
I obviously have been missing out on a little bit of Mid-Ohio recently. And now there's a new turn 4. So the new turn 4 was a little bit different for everyone. But kudos to our team. This is finally a race where we were able to get back on the Chevy simulator before this weekend, which I believe that plays a big part of why we were maybe starting in a better position. It's super helpful these days to use this Chevy simulator. I'm here now. We literally raced yesterday. We're recording Monday. We raced yesterday. I'm sore. It was hotter than the surface of the sun on that track. But we're in the sim today, and Stingray's in it again tomorrow. I got to go to an appearance tomorrow in Florida, but where we'll be next week too? Right back in the sim. We're going to be coming back. Like, we're getting a lot of days in here, which is really, really helpful. We appreciate Team Chevy for allowing us to be in the simulator. But I do think that did help us. I do believe that starting on the sim, getting a few ideas from a few different places that we've raced in the past certainly helped us, because to qualify 13th, honestly, that's pretty solid for our group. Our best qualifying on a road course of the season, the team's best qualifying on a road course for the season. And, we out-qualified the winner last year. We out-qualified Joseph Newgarden and all 3 of the Penske's. I definitely can't complain about that. But we were very optimistic about this race as well. Very optimistic, because for once our biggest struggle is still the primary tire. The red tire we thrive on. The primary tire is a struggle for us. Just the mechanical grip side is a challenge for us still, but we're working on it. But yeah, going into the race, obviously we were going to start 12th because Christian Rasmussen had an engine penalty. So I was lining up next to Alexander Rossi. And if you listen to the last episode of Speed Street, not a lot of people watched it on YouTube, which is fine. That's okay. But if you listen to it, and Nathan Brown from IndyCar, he came up to me right on the grid of the race. He's like, I just listened to the last episode of Speed Street, catching up. Boy, isn't this ironic? It was very ironic, me starting right next to Alexander Rossi. I honestly did not talk to Alex much. Again, Alex is still one of my best friends. And there were a lot of people, which I found hysterical, were very upset that I didn't put out some sort of tweet about Alex Rossi after Road America. And I was like, guys, I did a whole podcast saying how upset I was about the incident. So I have no idea. But the people who tweet a bunch of crap against me and come after me, none of them have profile pictures and none of them listen to Speed Street podcasts. So
bots.
I understand.
All bots.
That's fine. I get it. That's cool. But I didn't really get to talk to Alex much. I just kind of gave him a look. I was like, you know what? Here we are again. And right out the gate, Alex was on the primaries. Oh, there's a street cleaner going by right now. That thing's got a lot of power.
Oh, wow,
lights.
Dude. I thought the caution was out, dude. I was like, what just happened in the simulator?
There's lights on this thing. It's got a motor. That was wild. Anyway, so Alexander Rossi and I starting right next to each other. I thought that was very funny. And we immediately had, the start obviously was a full course yellow because of a crash. And when I came around and saw Joseph Newgarden, I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Joseph has crashed? This is crazy. And then I got to watch about half the race last night because it was on FS2. Shout out Fox for putting on the races at night as a replay. Love that. Kind of a wild thing to see. It looks like some sort of brake failure because these cars do lock rears. That's how I went off at Road America, locking rears. The rear locking definitely is challenging in these cars with the hybrid era, but there's just something about that did not look normal. So I'm curious to see if there's anything that comes out of the Penske camp. I mean, I'm not sure if they'll say anything publicly, but I'm just not sure that looked very normal. So I'm very, very curious about that. But on the restart, Alex Rossi was on primaries. He was struggling. And right out of turn one, I had my opportunity. I was like, well, we're going at Alex again. Let's see what happens. And I did the old Joseph Newgarden on him. I went to the outside first, backed off, slid down the inside, got the job done. Alex did not wreck me. He raced me very fairly. So again, it is possible. And maybe there's another driver who might need to learn a lesson from that. But either way, starting out the race on Reds, we felt really good. The first stint, we just settled in. I was running 11th, right behind Marcus Ericsson, feeling good. No one was catching us. We were kind of trying to figure out how far we wanted to go on the red tires because no one really knew what was going to be the optimal tire. Was it going to be the primary? Was it going to be the red? Two very different tires, but the pace difference didn't seem to be massive. So we just that actually kind of is fun because we weren't sure exactly what tire was going to be best. I think we made our first mistake though by for sure pitting early. That was as I talk about with my engineer, this morning, he asked me about lap 10. He asked me how the tires were. I said honestly, the tires are great, and they had seen on the screen that maybe Alex Palou's tires looked bad, but it turns out as they ran at the front, they kept getting faster and faster, whereas we kind of made a call to get off the red tire and go to the primary, and other cars behind me had also pit because we were all committed to a 3-stop race. I got jumped on the undercut by Pato, and I just tried to follow him, but I slotted in between Pato and Scott McLaughlin, and I was on the primary tire, and the primary tire was not ideal for us. It was not the ideal tire. So I basically just kind of pounded around that stint, lost a few seconds to Marcus, maybe 4 or 5 seconds to Marcus, but Scott McLaughlin did send me a text saying that I was very slow on the primaries, and I said thank you. And Scott and I had a very kind interaction. I also said, Scott, you could have passed me, but you didn't. So
he's a good friend.
I was like, he's a good lad. Scott, you know what, brother? And I don't think he listens. Maybe actually, no, Scott might listen to the Speed Street podcast. You know what? You could have passed me, my dog. And either way, I'm sure we will find ourselves in another position like that again. I do enjoy getting to race with Scott and with Pato and those guys more towards the sharper end. That is they are much smarter people, I think, sometimes. But yeah, we did that whole stint and then I ended up pitting under yellow. And we went right back to the reds. And so that's when the strategies really started to split. And this is when I knew that it could suck the rest of the day. We were committed to a big fuel number, but so were several other people. Kyle Kirkwood, me, Marcus, Scott was on the same strategy as well. And on that restart, had a good restart, got a good run on Marcus Ericsson, went to the outside. He actually made contact with me going in a straight line. And I have no idea why or how this happened, but Marcus literally took a shot at me while we were in a straight line. And I tried to break deep. And obviously, he did the whole, open up his hands and run me wide, which again, I should have expected. That is our IndyCar racing style nowadays. However, he did not purposefully wreck me off the track, did purposely not run me off the track. It was like, okay, I wasn't there quite enough. You know what? That's fine. I then lost a position to Scott McLaughlin. So I'm like, okay, now we're going to slide in here. Then the next lap, Scott McLaughlin fires it down the inside of Marcus Ericsson. And I'm not going to lie. And I love Scott and I like Marcus a lot too. Scott straight up, and I don't know if this made the TV broadcast at all, but Scott absolutely barrel rolled his car into the side of Marcus Ericsson's car.
I did not see that. It was
inside rear tire in the air and back down. And Scott got by him into the keyhole into turn 2. And then I also got by Marcus because he got absolutely walloped. So again, maybe that wasn't a penalty because Marcus didn't actually go off the track. He still was on the track, but Scott had definitely used him up, as they would say. In the, oh my gosh, I was like, oh man, maybe there's that was wild.
He's been running Legends cars lately. I don't know if you've seen Scott McLaughlin online. Point. Yeah, he's been
Yes.
having a lot of fun. So maybe he forgot that he was in an IndyCar. Maybe he thought he was racing legends for a moment, and he was ready to just kind of get in there.
Yeah, Scott gave him the old chrome horn. And
Yeah.
so that got me basically net back to where I was following Scott. And Santino had then also got by Marcus, it looked like, in that whole schmozzle there in the keyhole. And Scott was then very aggressive on getting by Kirkwood, and I had slotted right behind Kirkwood because I was on red tires. Kirk was on primaries, and I was going to try to set up Kirkwood. However, we needed a big fuel number. So I was in a lean map already on the engine side, and here comes the accident. So I'm going down the back straight, and I'm kind of in fuel save mode behind Kirkwood. And I noticed that Santino's gone full boost, full attack on the overtake. I blocked down to the inside, but left him enough room to take the inside if he would have liked. And again, I probably could have taken that, but I really didn't know if he was going to be able to do it. And so he fires it down the inside, and I know has already carried far too much speed. And I know for a fact that on reds, I'm going to be great on the outside of 5. I had used that move many times before in this car. Easy to be then on the inside for 6. And I was so confident because I had got such a run down the inside that my nose had already gotten ahead of Santino's nose. And I'm like, okay, it will be really hard for him to run me off the track if, unless he actually uses his car like a Scud missile and drives into the side of me. Turns out, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I am turning left, like full left lock, and my tire is in the side of his tire and in the car, and I am being fed so far to the outside that I could not believe where I ended up. And again, I should have known. Santino has done this multiple times to me, like where there's no regard for his own actual race. And so obviously, most people probably saw this. The tweet that I put out calling him a clown after the race, I think that's been my most liked tweet ever. Like even after some of my best Indy 500s, even, which is so funny. I guess people needed something to get stirred up on the web.
People have been waiting,
Again, so my problem with it is like that's cool that's the racing style that we're going for. Obviously, I just mentioned that Scott McLaughlin fender blasted Marcus Ericsson. Marcus Ericsson was not sent into the tires. Marcus Ericsson is still on the track. When you go straight and turn away from the corner, like literally when you drive someone like if you look at the onboard camera and the camera angle, the corner is going left. And Santino does not even go that way. So much so that he drives himself off the track. I don't know how in your mind you think, all right, I'm actually going to ruin my race and lose track position in the race that I am trying to compete in and earn points for my team, my sponsors. And I've said this before on this show. We've literally talked about the same thing. The lack of respect that Santino actually has for the effort that goes into this type of racing, to throw it away purely because he's either doesn't care or doesn't know what's going on or doesn't like me. I don't care that he doesn't like me. I don't like him. I actually think he's had a great year. The funny thing about it is, if this was last year, I probably would have backed out of that. But Santino has actually raced somewhat intelligently this year on occasions.
Yeah.
And I thought we were actually on a little bit better of a spot now until I see that. And I'm like, it's one of those things that, I will not name the drivers, but I immediately had, 3 drivers send me a text. 1 driver sent me an Instagram message saying he did the exact same thing to me last weekend. And 2 other drivers were like, I cannot even understand how much he hates you to do that.
Yeah.
It's just not necessary. Like that's not IndyCar racing. Now look, like all the haters on the internet, they needed this because they've been wanting to try to, throw some fire at me for a long time, which again, great. No one ever comes up and says this in real life, which is fine. But I'll go at it with them on the internet. Is Santino doing well in points? Absolutely. Does he have more podiums than I do this year? Oh, yeah. When have we on this podcast ever said that Santino is a slow driver? That's not true. Talented. Santino has been a fast driver. He has taken advantage of some great strategies, and he's in a Penske car. Like, I'm sorry, like there's a Foyt-Penske partnership that, again, is extremely beneficial, but a lot of people love just saying that there's no comparison. That's not necessary. But again, it's something that I feel like the majority of the drivers and, the respect of your peers is obviously, it's something that means a lot. And there's so many of us that are just on the same page with, I don't understand how you go from being a fast racing driver to doing something so egregious and so unnecessary that you cost yourself a bunch of stuff in the race. Like even if he had gone like, all right, let's go side by side through that corner. I'm probably going to get him into the next corner. I'm on reds. I'm faster anyway. Like, you know what? Maybe on the next stint when I was on primaries, he was faster than me. Maybe he could have got us then. But it's the fact that you're willing to throw away your own race just to make sure that I have a bad day is just something that it's childish. That's not the racing that is, fans love it. Like that's cool. Like if that's what the fans want to see, that's cool. But there are a lot of us that put our lives into this like every day and dedicate so much to it and are not in the position that Santino is in. Santino is driving it. He gets to look at Penske data. He gets to have all the setup information. Like, I don't get that. And I'm fighting for everything that I got. And, we are having our best road course weekend to date. And, that's just what happens. Now, again, racing's hard. I get it. Sometimes this stuff happens. But it was something that, I mean, if people really knew the thought of the paddock on like, hey, how many drivers are truly on the same page? The majority of us are on the same page. So if you think that like that's cool and like that racing was great, then that's fine. I mean, everyone's got stuff they like to watch, and racing they enjoy supporting. But there is better racing than that, and a lot of it. I watched it. I talk about it with Scott Dixon coming up. Scott Dixon had a great, clean racing fight with Kyle Kirkwood. And that's why those two guys are race winners this year. That's why those two guys are up at the front of the championship. It's so simple to see. Like, you don't have to do that to be successful. You don't.
Right.
And it's proven 10 times out of 10. So I that's my thoughts on it. It ruined our day, cost us about 11 seconds. You never make that back on a race that goes green the rest of the way. And yeah, I mean, there was also an incident though as well that one guy pointed out who got very angry at me because I believe that he on the internet knew more about the race than I did because I was in the race and he was not, which is wild. He actually seemed to know what was going through my head and what was exactly what the tires were doing and where he was on the crazy. Honestly, that is a level of that's why, I mean, hey, confidence. I respect the confidence. But
I wanted to ask you
and I, real quick. Santino and I came into the pits on the same lap at the end of that stint, and coming into the pits, my pit speed limiter did not latch. That means I have because when we push the pit speed limiter button, your speed comes up immediately so you can nail it. My speed did not come up, so I'm trying to not speed. I have to hit the brakes to make sure I'm not speeding, and then it latches. And again, if the haters want to see the video and the data, I got it for days. I don't care. Yeah. When the pit speed limiter doesn't latch, I'm happy to slow down for 1 extra second to make sure I'm not speeding on pit lane and get the pit speed limiter. And then he runs straight into the back of me. And apparently on the radio, he said that I brake checked him. I'm not that stupid. I'm sorry. Like first of all, I didn't even know he was pitting behind me. So that's crazy. And
Right.
again, it's one of those things that, again, you can make up your own reality. That's cool. But when the pit speed limiter doesn't latch, the last thing I'm going to do is try to predict what speed I'm doing, because that's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got hit coming into the pit lane, and I was like, oh boy, I almost spun there too. Yeah, just some stuff that's just not necessary. And again, I will tell this. I will absolutely tell this to his face. I don't understand it. I mean, he's having a great year. I'm sure he's loving life, but there's just no need for it. I still believe he's going to severely injure someone, a driver, or maybe even someone else, just because of a pure lack of thought. Like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You don't need to wreck someone or prove a point by running someone into the grass or into the wall because there are some people on the internet who get fired up about that. I don't know. I guess I don't know the reason. Again, great personality for the sport. He's Townsend Bell's favorite driver. Townsend Bell couldn't be the bigger Santino fan in the entire world. And that's awesome. I like Townsend. And again, I'm glad Santino's, got some fire in him, but I think there's a different way of doing it. You can still be a wild dude and chugging beers after the race. I love that. I thought that was a great clip. Chugging beers after the race, after Rotom. Great. Love that. But there's a limit to just pure sanity.
Oh yeah, it's a little absurd because it's tough to say because he literally just went straight into a curve. Like, that's the way it looked on television. He just went straight into a curve when he should have been turning. My question is for you, it sounds like you're not the type of guy that's already thinking about how you're going to retaliate. You're focused on doing your best in the race and how you're going to win. And I'm very interested and would love to hear Santino come out and just kind of make a comment that's not maybe too PR dressed and really just hear his side. I want to know why that happened. And I think a lot of IndyCar fans do. And so I know I'm not alone in that. But I mean, are you going to be quick to forget this, or are you going to keep this in the back of your mind when you're around him on the track moving forward for the rest of the season?
I mean, to be honest, you guys know, everyone knows who listens to this show. And if you're a first timer here, I love being honest, and people probably don't like it at times, but if I make a mistake, I'm going to tell you about it, like I did in Road America, like I did anytime something happens that is, me at fault for it. In qualifying at Mid-Ohio, I didn't nail turn 6, and that's what cost us the fast 12. But again, almost every driver I feel had one of those little stories I messed up turn 8. Scott Dixon talks about it a little bit in his interview as well. You had to do the perfect lap, and I didn't do the very perfect lap. I did a next to perfect lap, and it was almost good enough, but I will happily admit that. And so the thing that I will also say is that, honestly, racing Santino, for me personally, has not been terrible this year. He at the Indy 500, again, because, I led a lot of that race and spent a lot of time at the front, Santino's there as well, did not have an issue with Santino at Indy. And I feel like this was just a bit of a surprise, because I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe there is some maturity happening. He hasn't gone over to fight anyone in pit lane this year or grab Kyle Kirkwood's throat. Do I care about this in the future? Absolutely not. We're going to go into Iowa this weekend. We were the fastest car at the test. I know we want to win both of these races. And might Santino be good too? Yep, potentially. But, it's not going to be... I'm a race car driver, and I told my team this. I was like, I'm never not going to go for that move, because I know that I have the grip. I know that if you're a real race car driver, you understand where you're at in the corner. And again, if Santino thought about it, I'm on a better tire, I've got more grip, but there was no thought. There was just attack and make sure that he doesn't do anything. Then you lose 2 positions yourself. That's not smart racing. So again, I won't go. I won't do anything different. I mean, my team had no problem with it because I'm racing. I'm going to be a race car driver. I'm going to take advantage of a lane that's there. I'm going to take advantage of the grip that I've got on the tire, and that's what I'm always going to go for. But it's not going to change the way I race, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, I just believe that there are, we've been about one step away from having huge accidents with that 14 car. And
Sure.
Again, I can't say this enough. He's had a great year. And Larry Foyt loves Santino Ferrucci. And that's great. that's awesome. But I just wish that there was, I feel like if he could, put a few other pieces together, maybe he could be really great. You know what I mean? And that's all I've got to say. Fast driver. We've always said that, fast driver. But just least responsible decision-making in some cases that I've ever seen.
No, I think that answers a lot of it, man. I mean, it's just, when you're out there, you stay focused on what you bring to the track, what you bring to your car, and just run your race. And I feel like that's the biggest sign of maturity in any race car driver or in any person at the end of the day. It's you versus you. And you always look at it that way. So I have a lot of respect for you for that too. So, just no more straights into the grass, Santino.
Yeah.
Maybe not do that.
Yeah, I just, it was so astounding to me, and I it was such a sad moment because I really thought that we were going to have it. I don't believe that. It just put us into a very aggressive position strategy wise, and just too far behind to make up, what we had to. When you're in a pack like we were, you can save fuel much easier. Once I got back into clean air by myself, saving fuel becomes much harder. And we were saving such a massive number once we lost the draft, that it just became such an issue. So, I believe that this team, the positives, honestly, were qualifying. For people that love saying that I'm not a road course guy, I mean, I think we qualified pretty well with a team that's, we do not have the resources that other teams have. And if you only knew what that truly meant, you might understand. But, I can't go, truly into all the details of it. But I'm proud of this group. I'm proud of the effort that they've put in. I believe that we've got some good races coming up in front of us. It has to go our way at some point. I mean, we are going to keep busting our butts strategically when it comes to a speed standpoint. When it comes to development, we've got a lot of sim days coming up. Hopefully that's helpful. We'd love to continue to try to add more sponsors and partners to the table too. Obviously more sponsors and people that can, join up. Thankfully, well, it's crazy. I tried to sell Iowa this weekend. Could not get anyone on board. I hope that means we're going to win this weekend. But we will be back in the AM PM car for Monterey, which is going to look awesome. But yeah, that's Mid-Ohio. I'd say shout out of the weekend goes to Rinus VeeKay once again. Nailed the strategy, the two-stop strategy. Huge effort from those guys to get him up there. Kiffin Simpson in qualifying, just wild.
Lights
out.
That
guy's living a life right now. He's doing it. He was on our show. It's got to be having those teammates and having that team around him. I mean, I'm just jealous, but I'm happy for him. He's done a good job.
Cayman Islands turning up.
I purely speak of jealousy. I'm like sourly jealous, but I'm happy. I mean, he's doing a great job. So again, we give credit to people who are doing great jobs. Now, again, he wants to work on his ovals. He's got 2 oval races here to work on. But I think let's just get to Iowa. Let's get. We're done with Mid-Ohio. We saw Scott Dixon win. Lundgaard on the podium once again. Colton Herta with a decent race. But I think those are we named the stars of the show. We didn't get any predictions, and I'm glad I didn't give any predictions because I did tweet one person that said, "Oh, what are your predictions for Mid-Ohio?" And I just said Alex Palou 3 times. Yeah, so I did get one of them right. Alex was indeed on the podium, but let's talk a little bit about Iowa coming up. We don't want to go too crazy long because I've got to jump back on the simulator here soon so I can do some work. But there was an Iowa test last week, and the Iowa test had 21 cars at it. Not last week. It was the week before. So basically, right after Road America, we went straight to Iowa, and 21 cars there. And let me tell you a little bit about the conditions there. So it had rained the day before, and it basically rained during the night, but it was dry by about 8 a.m. No rain, the sun was out, wind was blowing. They got the jet dryers out there and dried the track, but the weepers at that track are like nothing I have ever seen. We waited until probably 12, maybe 1 o'clock, maybe even 2 o'clock, 2:30 before we started running, because the track was literally urinating itself, essentially. Ooh. Like it was pulling me at the Indy 500. Like this track was pissing more than I was before the start of the Indy 500. Like it was astounding. Like the whole track is dry, except all of a sudden you see in turn 4 and on the front straight, water just leaking through the track. And honestly, that could be an issue. If it rains at all, like on the Thursday or the Wednesday and Thursday before this race, I mean, I know we got probably Air Titans out there and stuff like that, and we didn't have Air Titans for the test, but I just don't know how that's possible. So I hope the Iowa Speedway folks, that we figure something else out there for the future, just so it doesn't ruin fans' weekends by just straight up delays. But once we got going, it was interesting. The package is very different. So to kind of give people an idea, this year we are at 1.3 bar boost, whereas like last year was like 1.4 bar boost, which is quite a lot of power, honestly. So we have less power. We've got a similar downforce package to like what we ran at Nashville. So nothing on the floor, no strakes, sidewalls, nothing on the floor of the car. But topside downforce is there's a little bit more topside downforce, which means the car is very draggy. So it's less horsepower, more drag, and overall about the same downforce as the year before, just a completely different way of doing it. So we get out there and it's interesting. I would say it was fast, but again, with less horsepower, you're kind of like, I gotta get going here. We got to keep the momentum up. And you're getting closer and closer to going full throttle here. You're like, oh, hey, we might be flat at Iowa, 7/8 mile oval flat.
Flat.
It was kind of wild. But overall at the test, we tried to work on a lot. I was in the car for 6 hours straight. I got out once to maybe have a snack, but we tried to do so much work. They extended the test day till like 8 p.m. thankfully, because we got started so late, but it meant the track was very busy. A lot of cars doing long runs, a lot of cars doing short runs, just basically trying to do as much as we could. And there was a large accident. Christian Rasmussen had a big crash. Right front tire failed. So that's not good. Having a right front tire failure is definitely not a good thing. I came around turn 1 and saw where he hit the wall, saw a wheel, a side pod, and then his car ended up in the middle of 3 and 4. So quite an impact for him. You hate to see that. And it definitely became apparent that whatever the tire is, whatever the downforce package is, we are putting a lot of load into the right front tire. And it was flat out. Like we did eventually get to a point where we are flat out around the Iowa Speedway, no lifting. And, I don't know what to tell you about this race coming up this weekend. We were obviously the fastest. And we've told you many times, testing is very hard to read into, but we all had the same amount of sets of tires. We all were out there as much as we could. And it seemed like a pretty decent result for us. Obviously, being the fastest is nice. But I just don't know what's going to happen. I said after the test, I was like, I think we need more of a highline session. I don't know. It's one of those tracks that I think because it's still like an older surface up top. I feel like the older surface is like shedding debris on like the lower line. And then as we run, I believe that we're so fast that we create tiny marbles so quickly. And I just don't know if we're going to be able to go to the outside. I don't know yet. I think when you force cars to go to the outside, like I think at the start of the races, you could see some cars run side by side for a while. And I hope you do. I really hope we do. But overall, I believe you're going to have to qualify well. I also want to tell people that we have thought this before. Chase, we have thought that St. Louis was going to be a bad race. People thought, right. The pack is going to suck. It's going to be bad. Well, St. Louis is a pretty awesome race.
It's an incredible race.
If you don't have tickets for Iowa yet, I don't think you should miss out on this weekend. And right now, there are a lot of good ticket deals available, especially for the Sunday race. The Sunday race, guys, we got to sell tickets for it. If you want to see any more ovals on the schedule, you got to go. And I don't want to put it on the responsibility, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to go see a short oval race in an IndyCar after St. Louis. You can't just say because it was bad last year, it's going to be bad this year. There's been a lot of work done. The package is entirely different. And you really never know until you actually get out there and do the racing. So tell a friend to buy tickets to the event, buy tickets to the race yourself, get out there Saturday or Sunday, preferably both. Because I do still think you're in for a show. So yeah, we'll see. What do you think, Chase?
I know that I've been to an Iowa race with IndyCar before. It is an excellent show. Went out when Hy-Vee was doing a lot with the race, and it just seems like everybody is just there camping. It's a big camping race. So a lot of parties, a lot of places in the campgrounds you should check out. I would definitely attend it, being someone that has attended it before in the past. Do it. Go.
I agree. It's totally worth it. So yeah, Iowa coming up this weekend. Chase, we got to get back to giving picks. Let's give some picks for.
Hopefully it'll be better than this past weekend, because I did terrible with Grid Rival picks.
Ooh, tough. Hey,
yeah.
That's what makes it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it. So I let's go 1-1. Let's do a one pick for race 1, one pick for race 2, and then you could have one pick for race 1 and one pick for race 2, and then blah, blah, blah. Top 3, right?
All right.
All right. So I'm going to go 1-1. My 1-1 is me. I'm going to go with myself. And then I'm also going to go with myself for day 2 as well.
I like that.
I honestly, we feel good. We're feeling good. The test was great, and it's got to happen. So we're going to give it our best shot.
All right. If we're all in on that, I'm going to say Pato O'Ward for first race having a podium. I feel like that crew, something's got to give. You guys had a great fight at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and I want to see it happen again in Iowa this weekend. So if there's anybody that I want to see you dog it out with, it's probably Pato. So I'll do Pato for the first race. Second race, I'm going to throw. I'm gonna throw Dave Malukas on a podium. I don't know if he'll win, but I'll throw him as a podium pick, because I think we already know where my other picks are going eventually. So, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. The guy who was P2 at the test, Felix Rosenquist. I think Felix Rosenquist could have a good one here. I'm gonna go Felix Rosenquist on the podium for race 1, and then for race 2. Ooh, man. I was going to go David Malukas like you, but yeah, I'm going to go David Malukas. I think maybe, short oval guy. He's definitely proved to be fast. I think David Malukas could get it done on at least one of these, but maybe day 2.
All right. My second podium picks, I'm going to just go ahead and do the easy route. It's going to be Connor Daly and Connor Daly. So that's going to be both days. So that's locked in. I think that we all knew that one was going to be locked in.
Love it. All right. So rounding out the weekend, looking at the test and looking at, again, these picks are no particular order, but Joseph Newgarden. I have to think that Joseph Newgarden is going to win one of these races by 10 miles, and he's going to be thrilled. But I obviously hope not. I hope that doesn't happen. But I believe that Joseph Newgarden has the potential to have a good rebound weekend here. So I'm definitely going Joseph Newgarden, race 1 on my podium. And then race 2, I have to think another Penske. At some point, there's got to be a Penske person back on the podium, a Penske driver. And I'm going to go Scotty Mack. I'm going to go Scotty Mack on the podium for race 2. You just have to think, and I don't know why I didn't pick Will Power, but I just think Scotty Mack and the Thirsty Threes have a rebound.
I agree with that 1,000%. Thirsty Three, Scott McLaughlin is definitely going to be one of my picks for one of the races. So we'll go ahead and just put him out. He's, like I said, he's been whipping in them legends, man. He's been trying to figure out. He's doing a lot of different things. So him and Bubba Wallace are having a lot of fun on Twitter. It's always fun to watch that.
That has been fun to follow. I agree.
It has. Hopefully I'm going to get to go out and see him one of these days. So we'll keep everyone posted on that. But Scotty Mack definitely for one of the podiums. And I'm going to go Colton Herta. I feel like Colton knows that he's in a position where, like, Kyle Kirkwood's done really well. I did not see Kyle Kirkwood winning at Worldwide Technology Raceway. They played the strategy out really well. So I think it might be Colton's turn to get him a podium on the oval. So, Colton, if you're listening, I still believe in you, dog. So do it. All right.
There you go. All right. Well, those are our Iowa picks. We appreciate those folks who gave us the week off, but now we are back. Let's get to our guest interview. I think we have a great chat with one of the most, actually probably the most successful, almost the most successful. He's coming up on 60 wins in the NTT IndyCar series. Oh my goodness. Does it happen this weekend? Does it happen this year? Does it happen next year? Who knows?
We didn't even pick him. We didn't even pick him for podium.
We didn't pick him.
Connor.
No, I know. I
feel bad now. I'm like, I got to go back and put Scott Dixon somewhere. I might have to tell Colton to hold off.
Nope. Can't do it. Can't go back.
We're locked in. We're like honorary mention.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get to our interview with Scott Dixon. Ladies and gentlemen, this week on the Street Podcast, we finally have a new guest. We've had someone who has won so many races, but this season, what better of a person to dethrone, the only 2 victors so far this year, a man who has really won more races than years that I've been alive. It's a man by the name of Scott Dixon who took advantage of a very, very late race mistake from your teammate, Alex Palou. But Scott, you had the kids there. It was a great victory podium. Kit was going crazy in victory lane. That must have been a cool feeling for you and the family.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, man. It obviously, I think that was Kit's first in-person win. So being at the racetrack, that kind of stuff. It was pretty funny on the drive home. He's like, why didn't we bring the trophy with us? And I said, we have to go get it tomorrow. And then he's like, and why didn't we kiss the bricks? I'm like, you only do that at Indy, man. So it's pretty cool that he's now thinking about that stuff. And I think to be there in that moment was definitely very special. Obviously, it was a pretty tricky race. I think our race would have been a lot more straightforward had the second stint on the soft tire. Within like 5 laps, my left front was started to peel apart, which we didn't expect, and we didn't think that was going to be an issue. So that stint was definitely a struggle. I think had we had, a different scenario there, the day would have been much easier. But it was a good race. Obviously, we were settling in there for I think a second place finish, and until I saw a bit of a puff of dirt, and I was like, that's kind of weird. So came over the crest, and it was game on, man.
I think at the beginning of the race as well, you had quite an epic defense. You were just about 2 cars in front of me, and you were on the primary tire, and cars behind you on the red tire, and it did seem to take maybe a couple laps to get that primary tire going because I don't know if it was Ericsson or if it was Kirkwood, but you were defending your life off in front, and I was like, it was very fun to watch. I was hoping you guys might have maybe come together, but obviously you're a professional. That doesn't happen with you. So It was really impressive. But was that the key, is to just kind of get those primaries in, and then you guys felt confident with the speed?
Yeah, I think so. I think, Kirkwood was obviously frustrated. He started, I think, seventh. I was ninth. He had a bit of a rough kind of initial, and then got on the grass a bit actually on the right. So I went to the outside. I should have probably gone a bit deeper, because I think I would have got Armstrong as well, but then bailed out of it. And obviously then the caution came out. But yeah, I didn't heat the tires up or the brakes any near, good amount on the first, because we were saving fuel. I was like, man, if we get a caution at the start, we can definitely go straight to this two-stopper. So, that was probably on my bad end of not prepping, the tire enough and all that kind of stuff. So those first couple of laps were pretty sketchy, man. And thankfully, Kirkwood and I didn't get into it too much there.
Yeah, well, I got into, so I know how you feel. It was nice to watch some proper racing. It was nice to watch some good racing between you guys.
Yeah.
As the race went on, though, obviously two strategies became very apparent. There were several cars that were going to be able to push the whole way. There were several cars that were going to be on a big number to save fuel. Obviously, you know how to save fuel better than anyone else in the game. And was that something that you felt comfortable with as the yellows fell? Like, hey, this is going to be probably exactly what we want?
Yeah, I think for us, actually, we were going to be fine just on fuel anyway. The only thing that was tough was that soft tire stint that made it pretty tricky, just because the pace wasn't where we wanted it to be. And then, when it's, the pace isn't there, then you start to use a little bit more fuel. But what really gave us the buffer was the Rasmussen, that caution. We didn't need it, but it gave us a bit of a buffer to kind of shorten up that soft stint and then be able to go a bit longer on the black one as well, or on the hard tire. So, yeah, it's always interesting, that race. I think we had a pretty bad. Where we lost a lot of time too is actually in the pit sequence. We came in, Kiffin pitted in front of us, then the 18 pitted in front of him. So we were kind of all bottled up. I nearly stalled coming out of my stop, so I lost a second or two in that scenario as well. But yeah, I love when they get the right amount of laps for these races where you can have a two-stopper and a three-stopper, and they converge with maybe 5 or 10 laps to go. And that was definitely true of what a classic Mid-Ohio is. I think with what they changed in Turn 4 made it extremely tough now to have any kind of passing option. That high banking, at least you used to be able to hang on the outside and try and, pull off a pass there. Whereas now that's, pretty much, disappeared.
Chase, I'm going to let you jump in here.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to ask you about in terms of your family, they were mentioning on the broadcast that your mom was in attendance for this race, and I wanted to know, do you think your mom could be a good luck charm? Does she come to a lot of races? Because I don't know if I've seen her at many.
So she comes to some. Last year, I think she did maybe Indy 500 and maybe Road America, kind of whatever falls around that time. Last year I think was kind of crazy too, because she did Detroit, because they made the split to Lamar. So she was at Road America this year. I had actually a go-karting friend, Todd Pelham, and his daughter, they flew in this weekend. So I couldn't give all the credit to Mum for being a good luck. It was actually the friends from New Zealand that, kind of came in, and then obviously Kit for his first time. So we'll see how the Kit scenario works out. Actually, all of them will be at Iowa for this upcoming weekend. So hopefully it works out. But, I know Connor's going to be strong, man. Connor's going to be strong.
Yeah.
Man, well, that's great to hear. I want to know more about your teammate who has been honestly on a run. Well, honestly, when I look at what Alex is doing, it reminds me of what you have done for so many years in your career. I maybe not that many consecutive wins, but like Scott Dixon always wins. Oh my gosh, we're going to have, another championship season. But what is it about him? You're obviously in that engineering office, and I kind of want to know without revealing too many secrets. And we've asked you about this a little bit before, but this year, for some reason, has been entirely different. He's obviously got the 500 win now. What is it about his driving style that suits this car, this era, really well?
So it's never one thing that's, kind of stands out, what he's exceptional at doing. And I would say that's also for the 10 car group is just that there's really no mistakes, man. Like it's, for instance, my Q2, I think I was on the same lap time to him until turn like 8. And then I kind of made a mistake in 9. And, that was the difference. He, converted and then put together, a huge lap for pole. But he does that every session, man. Like it's actually, it's hard to watch, but it's also very impressive to watch. Like it is fantastic to see. I would say his driving style is, he's just very smooth. I think for me, the hard part is trying to, with all that rear weight now, especially with, the weight of the car itself, but then all the weight of the hybrid at the back. My style is quite aggressive. It's quite agitating, and I just keep moving the weight around, and then the tire just can't take it. And he's very smooth, very accurate. He can replicate things really well. He can see things really well, and then replicate that as well, whether it's from data or video or stuff like that. So, all credit to him, man. He's a hell of a talent, a hell of a driver, and we've seen that. Not just this year. This year obviously is outstanding. But good on them, man. Good on them. It's difficult. It's really difficult to do, and they're doing a hell of a job.
I actually love talking to drivers about kind of the difference now in the car, right? I think when I interviewed Simon Pagenaud not too long ago, there have been a couple drivers once we got this aero screen and once the weight kind of keeps going up, the hybrid is obviously even more weight, that Alexander Rossi hasn't won in the Aeroscreen era, right? Like there's a couple guys like Simon Pagenaud who I would say like all of a sudden at the end, like towards the end of what he was doing in IndyCar, you would have expected him to be a little bit quicker too. And you yourself just said like, hey, this car actually now with the weight actually is a little bit more difficult for my style.
Yeah.
Did you expect that? Because I feel like I also have struggled with this car compared to like the Aero Kit era and some of the other versions. And I guess put that into words for people as to, what styles require and what makes it so difficult to make this, car work.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think Dario would be exceptional in this car as well. Just, he's, I always said they drove like a grandma because like you push the pedals very light and, the steering, would be so slow. Like, and that's what this car requires at the moment. It's, the car's not fun to drive. Like I think gone are the aero days to even, dating back for me to the kart days where you had 1,000 horsepower. The car is quite underpowered. It's quite slow. I think when I first came in, it was 12 to 15 seconds a lap difference between the IndyCar to Indy Lights. Now it's about 2 or 3 seconds. Maybe they're going to be about the same speed as us this year. So it's definitely changed a lot. But what's really good to what you can see, especially with these younger guys, whether it's the karting days are extremely different as well. When I grew up go-karting, you would slide the kart quite a lot. Now, all you see at a go-kart race is the parents on the top of the thing, like just, smooth adjustments. And all these younger kids that are coming in have got very smooth inputs. They're very delicate with what they do. And I think that's definitely changed the style quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting to pay attention to. And you're exactly right. The drivers that didn't drive the car before, the weight, I feel like have benefited quite a lot. And it's almost scientifically proven because you see, Alex Palou and Rinus VeeKay, I would say, is very fast in this car. A lot of good young guys and a lot of young rookies have been very impressive. So it's been cool to see. Obviously, the championship fight is maybe not as close as you'd like it to be, but
yeah.
What are your thoughts as you go forward through the rest of the year? I mean, is this really just Alex's championship to lose and you're not really sure if anyone can beat him, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just for us, it's the focus on race wins, man. It's kind of a nice way to go into the last part of the season. I think for us, championship wise, we're kind of racing for second. I don't even know what we are, maybe 30, 35 points out of second place, and even to third place isn't that far. So, we'll just really have to, have fun with it, man. Just go after the wins and it kind of sucks. Like I remember, 2 years ago where, Alex and I went into the last race. I could only be as bad as second and he could be only as bad as first, and it was kind of a bit of a blah kind of end to the season. But we'll fight hard and we'll fight hard to try and get second. But to close that gap to Alex now for myself is pretty difficult, and I would say even for Kirkwood or Pato as well.
Yeah. All right, Chase, I'm gonna let you jump in.
Yeah, now that you got the monkey off your back with the win, I would kind of want to know, like, you've got 59 career wins. You're looking at 60. What is the one race that's coming up that you kind of have circled that you are maybe overly confident in as opposed to some of the others?
A standout for me is always trying to win St. Pete, man. I don't know what's with that place, but so, we led races there, this year, I think we had the car to beat, and we had no radio, and then, the strategy went a bit haywire. The other one would be Iowa, man. I've never won at Iowa. I've podiumed a few times, but yeah, maybe Connor will let me win one of the races.
This
weekend.
No shot. I need that one more than you know.
You can have one, I can have one, and then both of us are happy, man. How's that?
Sharing is
I
caring.
wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate that, honestly.
So let's work on that. But there's definitely lots of places. I feel that it might also be the last year for Iowa as well. So we'll see where that goes.
Oh, interesting.
I want to get your read on Iowa. You obviously, you guys tested there as well, right? Last week? Yeah. What do you, everyone I feel like keeps asking me the same question. What do you think? Is it going to be a good race? I try to be optimistic. I think IndyCar obviously knows what a lot of us think. The downforce package, the power package, the right front tire issues. What do you think we'll be able to do? My thought, real quick, is that, like, if we were forced to run every single practice on the High Line, maybe that would be good, but I just don't know. It's so dirty, and that track I feel like is covered in dust and just kind of particles that it gets dirty so quickly. But if cars are going there, maybe it works. I don't know. What do you think about this weekend coming up?
Yeah, I'm kind of sad, man, because I used to love that race. Like, it was so fun. Like, you'd feel like a complete idiot. You'd come in, put tires on, and you'd feel like King Kong. Like, it was so much fun. You'd be passing 5 cars a lap. The unfortunate part was the track resurfacing that they did last year just killed our race. IndyCar can only do so much, man. The only thing I would say I was disappointed at the test is that the tire just had no dig. I think we did 60 laps, and it was maybe a tenth of a second that, on a push lap at the end that, that was kind of all of the degradation. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where the tire goes. Obviously, this weekend, I think they're changing the right front. The power and aero stuff, hopefully it helps. I think it's going to make, the dirty air a little worse. So that may force you going to the High Line. Last year there was a couple of small runs where people actually had on the High Line. I think this year there's probably more opportunity just because the surface is, kind of maybe more even across those, situations. But I don't know. I'm praying for a High Line race that people can use both lanes and really make it exciting, because it deserves to be that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of sad about, that we lost what Iowa was such a great race, man.
I know. Trust me. I running the High Line is obviously a great opportunity, but it also creates such excitement for the fans. And it's, the risk of going there, though, is so great after, like, let's say, all right, I'm going to try it this lap. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. If you put one tire up in any of those marbles, you almost have no chance of bringing it back. Yeah. Which is so sad.
I know, like, and it never used to be that way, right? Like, and obviously, maybe they'll keep cleaning it as much as possible. I felt like a couple of tracks this year, they could have maybe done the High Line a little bit more, and a little, even St. Louis, I think, even after that big caution that we had, they could have maybe cleaned the High Line a little bit more. But it didn't seem to affect it too much. But I think at Iowa, that's going to be really rough, man, if they don't clean that stuff up.
So let's go back to Mid-Ohio really quick. When you came over the hill in 9, did you think there was, all right, he's something broken, or what was your immediate thought? Because, we haven't seen this type of mistake, because looking at the aerial view, I'm like, oh man, it literally was just a mistake. And 9 is a little bit tough. There's a little bit of entry and security issues there every now and then, but what was your first thought?
Well, coming, on the approach to 9, I could see a little bit of dust up in the air, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of, maybe that was, remember some of the, cars going off during the practice sessions, it would kind of linger there for a while. So, you'd come around through one and the car wouldn't, other car would be already through two. So I was like, oh, maybe it was kind of, some traffic that was fighting hard, some other cars, maybe 20, 30 seconds down the road or something like that. But, came over the crest. I was like, wow, he's going really slow. Hit overtake, hit, hybrid. I'm like hitting everything just to make sure I can get enough of a run. But then I was still worried, but even backing up before that, I was kind of shocked that they didn't pull away as fast as I thought they were going to. He had fresh tires, could burn as much fuel as he wanted. We were still in a pretty heavy fuel save. And you could see he was pushing hard, but he wasn't actually pulling away that fast. So I was kind of shocked about that. And then obviously to see that, but I don't want to see my teammate, go through that situation where, he's in and on for a race win. But man, you got to take it. Win's a win. And we had a great day, and obviously, first place is better than second place.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
That's much nicer. I don't know what that's like, but it seems great. I want to get your thoughts on what has gone on with Team Penske this year. I think seeing some of the results and what has happened to Joseph and just the team in general, I mean, is it a shock for you? I mean, you've been going head to head against Team Penske for ever since I've been alive, I feel like. And
yeah.
I mean, they're some of the best out there, but this year has truly been different. I mean, how do you react to that? How do you read that?
I don't know. There's been a lot of changes there, right? I think even through this year, there's been quite a few changes. I think you got to say, man, a lot of people in this field have had pretty crappy seasons. Even going into, this weekend, I was like, how are we tied for fourth position? We've had such a crap year for our team, and to still be kind of around the top five was kind of bizarre for me. And then you look at, Will, had his accident at the first race. Joseph had that crazy one at St. Louis, which was bizarre. He was, I think going to be challenging for the win at Indy until he had the engine failure. And then, you had a crazy kind of situation at Mid-Ohio at the start. So, McLaughlin's been in a similar situation where he's had hybrid failures. It's just been a bizarre year for them. I would say what's more and not shocking, but just, qualifying has been tough for a lot of people this year, but, they've been off a lot at a lot of different places where they're normally pretty exceptional. So we'll see how that plays out. I know, like everybody, man, everybody is working so hard. It's tough. It's really tough. And I'm sure they'll sort it out really quick. They got a lot of great and smart people at that place. And obviously their driver lineup is very stout. So we'll see, man. We'll see a resurgence before the end of the year. That's for sure.
All right, Chase, you got one more here for Scott?
I do. So this is kind of this will kind of be a big question that some people have been teetering on. You seem sharper than ever at your age right now, and I want to just clear the air. Is it safe to say that retirement is nowhere in sight for you?
Yeah, I just signed a 5-year extension, man. So at least 5 more years. So
really?
Let's go. No, I haven't.
What?
Got the break news on Speed Street. How you gonna do us dirty like that?
More?
Man?
Yeah. Nothing in.
I mean, you probably could do it.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. But no, I still enjoy it. This year has been a trying year, but it's still one of those years you learn the most about yourself, about the team, about anything like that. So yeah, I love it. I love racing. I love being part of this crazy road circus on the road, and I'm definitely not retiring anytime soon. That's for sure. But not sure about signing a 5-year extension.
He's not going anywhere, boys and girls.
Before I let you go, I think it's really cool to have seen lately. You've got Kid out at the go-kart track. Do we need to be worried here very soon about what's going on? Is my seat under threat already? How's that looking? Has that been an enjoyable experience for you as a racing dad?
Yeah, it's been pretty cool, man. And honestly, I think he's maybe done 3.5 hours, 4 hours on the go-kart so far. We're going to go back out again, I think, sometime this week, either tomorrow or the next day. He's had some moments. He's very aggressive. Let's just say that. I don't know if I showed you the video on the weekend, but I've got a video that I need to show you of how last week went. But no, he's been doing really well and just loves it. Even last week when we were out there, some of the other kids would come in and stop for some water or chill out, and he would come in and ask, like, why is everybody stopped? Can I keep going? So, he would just keep going.
Love
So,
it.
yeah, it's, he's loving it. And it was cool to see, to have him at the track this weekend for the win, and hopefully that, puts a fire under him and wants to keep doing the same for himself. But yeah, the goal is to get him into a race sometime before the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, then you might need that 5-year extension for that paycheck increase.
Exactly.
Get the
Gotta
funding
make it
going a
happen.
little early.
I'm going to be coming to you guys for some sponsorship, man. So
Oh,
just,
boy,
there we go.
The
We
Speed
get a
Street
third
podcast
host.
part. Yeah,
Let's go.
I love it. Well, Scott, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us. It's very refreshing to talk to someone new. Honestly,
Yep.
it's been far too many wins for Alex Palou. I'm going to say it. I love Alex. He's been awesome. I think he's a great friend of mine.
It's very,
but
very greedy. I agree. It's
Very
very
greedy.
So,
Kind of a greedy guy.
I hope it's just us two next week, man. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that would be nice. That is the goal. We're going to win some races this weekend. We've got 2 on offer, so it should be great to split.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Cheers, guys.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
We appreciate Scott Dixon jumping on with us on the Speed Street podcast this week. Appreciate those who came up to us in Mid-Ohio as well, came up to me in Mid-Ohio, saying they listen to the show. I appreciate that. Honestly, all you folks listening, and we do hope you're listening, and if you're watching, thank you. But listening is actually very important. We need to drive those numbers up. We need to get the numbies up. That would be sweet. We're going to keep trying to put out some good content for you guys, keep trying to give you something to listen to, give you something to enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
But don't forget, before we get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, tune-in info for the races this weekend, 5 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Obviously, the channel does not change. It is easy to find. 5 p.m. Eastern for the Saturday race, the Sync 275. And then July 13th, the Sunday race, is 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox, the Farm to Finish 275. So please write that down. Please be a friend and tell a friend to tune in. And with that, we will get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. We'll make up the field.
All right, this week we went to the 1952 Indy 500, which was, of course, won by Troy Ruttman. The 1952 Indy 500, back in the day, way back in the day. This week, we decided to go with a driver by the name of, where did he go? The 19th place finisher. 19th place finisher is Henry Banks. Henry Banks sounds like a British aristocrat, sounds like James Bond's like co-workmate or something like that.
Right.
Henry Banks sounds like he would work for MI6. But he was actually a race car driver. He competed in various disciplines of open wheel motorsport. He was born June 14th, 1913 and died December 18th, 1994. So lived a long life. And he was in fact British. He was in fact born in England, but brought up in Royal Oak, Michigan. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
A Michigan man. Banks began competing in 1932 when he was 19 years old. Let's see how many Indy 500s he did. He was an actor? Hang on. Banks appeared in 2 racing-related films during his career. Oh, wow. The first was To Please a Lady, starring Clark Gable. And the second was Roar of the Clouds, or Roar of the Crowd, starring Howard Duff. Wow.
What?
That's
Is this
cool
like the
movie.
first actor / IndyCar driver we've ever reviewed?
Maybe on the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. Yeah, maybe.
Kind of an actor guy.
Wow.
I had mentioned that he may have been a young child on the Titanic at some point. He may have come over. He may have.
Sounds like a
he
guy
may
who would
have-
have been on the Titanic.
For sure, definitely, or like a nephew of like a banker, maybe.
Yeah, I
The
can see
name had
that.
to start somewhere, you know.
Yeah, very interesting Indy 500 career. His first Indy 500 was all the way back in 1938, actually. 1938. And then obviously the war. So he didn't race again until 1946, then 47 through 52. So we happened to get him here on his last Indy 500 appearance. So very, very interesting. We learned something about Henry Banks,
There
MI6
he is.
agent. Maybe not. I don't know.
Big money Henry. We love
There
him.
you go. All right, folks. Well, I don't know if you guys remember, but we did announce the winner of the gloves, and you still haven't emailed Bobby. So if that means that what that means is you don't actually listen to or watch the show. So we might have to redo the draw for the signed gloves. And Bobby's email was attached to the last video, and I mean, feel free to go back and watch it and check for your name. But we have not been contacted yet by the winner, so we're gonna have to maybe redraw next week and select a winner for the signed racing glove. So
I love
if
that.
you did win, go find your name, go listen to the show, and if you heard it, well, reach out to Bobby. So anyway, we appreciate you folks. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We got real honest on it, real honest. So with that, we'll see you next week on Speed Street. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.